guys, welcome back to my channel, Lady and the Drink. Today we are going to be making two cocktails with rye whiskey, one from the 1930s and one from the early 1800s. You might be able to guess what that is. It is the old-fashioned, of course, probably the first cocktail to ever be written about, and the origin of many of the cocktails that we know today, including things like the Manhattan and the other cocktail which we're going to be making, which is the Vieux Carré. So, we're going to start with the Vieux Carré. The Vieux Carré was invented in the 1930s in New Orleans, in the Hotel Monteleone. So, the Hotel Monteleone is in the heart of the French Quarter, which used to be known as the Old Quarter. And that obviously ties in with the name of the cocktail. If you speak French, the French pronunciation would be Vieux Carré, which means old square or old quarter, but the Creole pronunciation is Vieux Carré, so don't make any mistakes there. I've asked for a Vieux Carré many times and received very strange looks. Anyway, so it was invented in the 1930s at the Hotel Monteleone at the Carousel Bar. If you've ever been to New Orleans, I'm sure you probably went and took a look. Hopefully you managed to get a drink there. Unfortunately, when I went, it was absolutely rammed in there, so there was no chance of getting to try the drink. The Carousel Bar is really cool though. It is literally a carousel and you sit around the bar and the whole thing rotates every 15 minutes. It does an entire circle. So not fast enough to make you sick or anything, but just a bit of fun. So for that cocktail, we are gonna need three main ingredients. That's gonna be sweet vermouth, rye, and cognac. So this is for those of you who like brandy and whiskey. Now, this cocktail is pretty easy. Sounds complicated because there's a lot of ingredients. Once we get into the peripherals, you'll see what I mean. But in fact, once you actually see the amounts of each of them, it is pretty simple. It's equal parts of these three main components, and then just a bar spoon of this, which is Benedictine. Benedictine is a very sweet, very herbal French liqueur made by monks. Can be difficult to get your hands on it. There isn't a lot of it in this cocktail, but I will say it does add that extra nuance, so definitely worth getting hold of. Even maybe, I don't know, go halves with a friend or see if you can find a smaller bottle. But yeah, I wouldn't really swap it out for anything else. So let's get started. As far as our glass goes, we're gonna go with one of these guys. I know that at the actual Carousel Bar, they do mix the drink straight into the glass, but I don't really have a glass that's quite big enough to do that. So I'm just gonna mix it in a mixing glass and then strain it into here. So we're gonna start chilling this, put a big boy in here, leave that to cool down, and take our ice and pop it in here. So I'm going off the recipe which I found in the original cocktail book from that era. I think it's called Famous New Orleans Cocktails and How to Mix Them. So I'll post a link below in the description box. There is actually a website that's a really good resource for old cocktail manuscripts like that, and they have them all scanned so you can read the original pages and the pencil notes that are in there and stuff, so that's pretty cool. So we'll start with our Benedictine. So we're just going to do 1 bar spoon of this. It is intensely sweet, so you really don't want to use too much of that. Again, this is one of those things that I picked up in France because it's a lot cheaper there. We're going to go for 1 ounce of sweet red vermouth. Now, I know back then the vermouth was Italian. This is actually a new bottle I've got. It's a Spanish vermouth made from a sherry base, so I am excited to see how that pans out. It smells delicious. Then we're going 1 ounce of rye. The rye is nice, adds a sort of spiciness to the drink. I've seen some recipes with bourbon, but I know the original called for rye, so if you have rye, then that would definitely be a better choice. And then cognac. Again, it doesn't need to be some crazy extra old, super special one. Okay, so we've got these guys in here, then we're gonna go in with the bitters. So we're gonna do 1 dash of Angostura and 1 dash of Peychaud. There we go. Great color on this one. So I would say that this drink, if you like an old-fashioned, you're really going to like this. If you like any kind of whiskey-based drinks or brandy. But for those who aren't keen on things being very boozy, this isn't going to be for them. There's no syrups, there's no juice, it is literally just booze in here. So we're gonna stir this for around 15 to 30 seconds. Gotta get some water in there, you know. Boy, you'd be pretty drunk after one of these, I have to say. One of these will definitely be enough. So as you start to feel the outside of your mixing glass get frosty, that's when you know that you're getting there as far as the chilling and the dilution goes. Okay, so take our glass. I'm gonna go with the Hawthorne strainer today. And I will pour that over this big ice cube. Now, I personally prefer to drink this up in a coupe, but this is how the original was made, so that's what we're gonna go for. Ooh. Cue 10 minutes of me trying to open this. Okay, we got there eventually. So in the original recipe that I found, it does say that you can garnish it with a lemon peel, is the standard garnish, and a piece of pineapple, interestingly enough, and a cherry. Now, I don't have any pineapple on hand, and that seems kind of strange, something more like you would find in a tiki cocktail, but anyway, we'll go with the cherry and the lemon peel today. So I have these Amarena cherries. You know what? Definitely easier to just stick your bar spoon in here so that you don't get any sticky fingers. Okay. So I'm just gonna rest that on the rim. And then I'm gonna take a lemon peel. Again, like I mentioned last time, if you guys missed that, then check it out. I'll pop a link in the corner. But as far as citrus goes for cocktails, try and keep them at room temperature, or at least bring them out of the fridge about an hour before you're gonna use them if you want that nice oil expression. So I'm gonna take a nice big lemon peel, or a kind of short stubby one. And we're gonna spritz that. And we're gonna wipe it around the glass, and then I'm gonna just tuck it here under my cherry. And there we have it, the Vieux Carré. This is a classic. I would say that most bars you go to in America will be able to make you this. In Europe, don't expect it from somewhere that's not super up on their cocktail culture. You might have to, as I've had to numerous times, pull it up on my phone. But if you're in a well-stocked bar, then they will have all the ingredients. Everyone seems to have a bottle of this sitting around. They don't seem to get through it very much, but I guess that works out for us because it's there for your cocktails. So we'll taste that in a minute. Let's get on with our second drink, which is an old-fashioned. I'm gonna do a slight variation on it because this is how I really like to drink it. I think it freshens the drink and gives it a bit of extra fruitiness. But anyway, before I get on with that, I'm gonna go and grab some ice and clean up my mixing glass. So I will see you in a second. And we're back. So now we're gonna get on with the old-fashioned. Again, this is something that I think you could normally build in the glass, but you need something slightly larger than this because once you've got the ice in there and you're stirring around, you're gonna end up with crazy mess everywhere unless you're careful. So I'm gonna keep it simple. Again, big boy in the glass, 3 guys in here. I have no idea why I personify my ice cubes like that. Anyway, I'm gonna start, oddly I suppose, with an orange peel in my mixing glass. I actually like to muddle that with my sugar syrup and my whiskey. So, orange peel goes in. Now, as far as bitters go for this, I'm gonna do a blend. I'm gonna do some orange bitters to amp up the orange flavor and some Angostura bitters as well. So if you have both of them around, that would be great. You could also try something different, some cherry bitters. I'd say the old-fashioned is a really good place to experiment with different bitters. If you have some on hand or if you've made your own or anything like that, then give it a go because you have quite a good canvas for adding those little nuances of flavor here because you only have the one spirit, which is going to be your rye or your bourbon if bourbon is your preference. I like the rye because it's a little bit spicier and I think it plays really nicely with the orange. But again, if you prefer bourbon, go for it. So I'm going to do 2 dashes of the orange, 2 dashes of the Angostura. It has a habit of spitting everywhere. I'm gonna go in, you know what? I'm gonna go in the sugar syrup first. This is a Demerara syrup that I made. It's just a 1-to-1 ratio. If you have a rich, simple syrup, you could use that too, or a sugar cube, or about half a teaspoon of sugar. If you like that more granulated texture in your drink, then definitely go with the sugar cube or the raw sugar itself. If you want something smoother and silkier on the palate, I suppose, then go with the syrup. Up to you. So I'm going to go in with half an ounce. This is also something that is quite personal, I would say. It depends how sweet you like your drinks. Now I'm going to get that orange peel to express into the syrup that we've got in there, get those oils out. Okay, then we're going to go in with our rye. So pretty simple, 2 ounces. That's 1 and 2. So the Old Fashioned, I think, was first written about in the early 1800s, invented in America, and pretty much the grandfather of cocktail culture as a whole. So we are going to stir those, get the appropriate dilution, and chill it down. You see what I mean about how this can be kind of messy in the actual drinking glass. If you really want to, then be my guest. If you have a bigger glass, some of those nice big cut crystal ones would be my preference, but I really don't need any more glassware. I think if I do, I'm going to need a bigger apartment because I already have a whole cabinet full of it, and I'm not sure that my husband would tolerate even more of our kitchen space being taken up with glassware. Okay, that's looking good. Now, I just wanted to mention that another thing which I have had in a variety of bars, which is really delicious, is honey syrup in an Old Fashioned. If you have a glut of honey or if you have honey syrup. So, pop your strainer on. Oh, that smells delicious. And we're going to go in with another orange peel. Okay, let's express that. Wipe it around the glass and tuck it in. So, there we have it, our 2 cocktails for today. Both rye-based. We have the Old Fashioned from the early 1800s, and we have the Vieux Carré from New Orleans in around the 1930s. So let's give them a taste. You could also garnish the Old Fashioned with a cherry as well, if you fancied. It smells super complex, kind of fresh from the lemon and then the herbal notes from the Benedictine, and then rich from the cognac and the whiskey. Anyway, let's give it a taste. Oh, it's so good. Very smooth, I say that about a lot of things, but I suppose I mean well integrated and balanced by saying smooth. It's nice because it's not super sweet. I think you often think that whiskey-based drinks are going to be kind of sickly, but this one, I don't know whether it's from the Benedictine, that more vegetal, herbal note, but it's really delicious. Dangerous if you have too many, for sure. Okay, now let's try the Old Fashioned. Less freshness, I suppose, because we've got the orange, not the lemon, but you can smell the sort of caramelly notes from that Demerara. Oh, that is pure heaven. So good. Rich, warming, spicy, almost reminiscent of kind of baking spices. Well, those are going to be very enjoyable for me to sip on after we have finished this episode, and I'm so glad that you were able to join me again. Please check out my other videos and hit the subscribe and the like buttons below. I'm going to leave the recipes in the description box and the links that I mentioned earlier, and I hope to see more of you around here on my channel Lady and the Drink. I'm Alex, and happy drinking. I completely forgot to say cheers today, so I guess we'll end this with cheers. I'll take another sip. Oh yeah.